It is a proud privilege on behalf of University Health Center to welcome all the esteemed colleagues and scholars and students of the university to this fourth lecture of this lecture series. We will keep trying, because we know that the purpose for which we stand here, we all have gathered here, is a very pious one. And as long as we have the strength, we will keep trying to create that awareness for which we have all stood. And I'm very delighted that Dr. Shabnam Bashir has accepted our request and invite to be the guest speaker of the day. Initially, we did not have fair idea how far we will succeed in our effort. But then, of late, we realized that offline is not the offline medium is perhaps not a very popular medium in because post-COVID era. So we have, if this is the first lecture which will be live streamed on YouTube, as well as we have a Google Meet link circulated. So I think we have less number of people attending this event offline today, and far more bigger number, including the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University of Kashmir, Professor Talat Ahmed. He is also attending this lecture online. So I will request all of you to share and disseminate this information to everyone who you actually care for or who you actually love, because sharing, as they say, is caring. So share it. With that brief perspective, I would like to introduce the guest speaker of the day, Dr. Shabnam Bashir. The first thing is that we should be very proud of the fact that she is our own alumnus, like many of us. She is a student of the GMC Srinagar, of course, University of Kashmir's college. So she is the first female organ-specific oncosurgeon of Kashmir, trained in laparoscopic, robotic, laser, cytoreductive surgeries. With this introduction, may I have the privilege of welcoming the guest of the day to speak to the audience about cancers.
I'm back to my own motherland basically after 15 long years. I've started my cancer awareness drive outside, and it's so humbling to be over here on my own soil. And at the outset, I would like to thank Dr. Ashfaq Zari and his team and the university for having given me this opportunity to be standing here on this platform and addressing my own people. It's been a long journey, and the Cancer Awareness Drive basically started in 2017 outside in Karnataka. But having been to many places and many institutions, it's altogether a different feel to be over here on your own soil, addressing your own people. So the topic for the day is basically creating some amount of awareness on cancers. Now, cancers per se, it's a huge topic, and there is so much to talk about. Basically, it's very difficult to make it so concise and restricted to any time frame. I'll try my level best, but I don't know how much of justice I'll be able to do to the topic in that time frame. To begin with, how was the cancer named? Basically, it was named by the Hippocrates. It was called carcinos. In Greek, it means crab. And there were many reasons for him which stayed undiscovered till late. Why did he actually call it cancer? Then it was Celsus actually who named it cancer. The initial term was carcinos, and it was only Dr. Galen basically who 100 years later dissected out the breast cancer tissue and the cells and tried to find the simile between the two. So if you look at the cancer cell, when it goes into the tissue, it needs a lot. These are rapidly dividing cells, so they require a lot of nutrition. It starts what we call angiogenesis. A lot of blood vessels, new blood vessels are formed to gain that nutrition. And that is one reason it starts looking like a crab. The second, when it grips you, it's very painful. Third, it doesn't usually leave. So these were the reasons why it was simulated, or it was, kind of related to crab. Now, why do we have to discuss cancers, basically? Cancer, as we are already dealing with the pandemic. And this is almost a similar kind of situation, but each country is dealing with their own problem. So it doesn't cross the borders usually. So it's a new age epidemic. And it's costing us a whopping 1.16 trillion US dollars globally to fight this menace every year. We have many different types of cancers, close to 100 types. And if you look at the numbers, we are having 18 million new cases every year globally, and 9.6 million are succumbing to this cancer. And when I tell you that this is the figure that we're dealing with, close to 2 crore, it is a mere underestimation of the numbers. Please understand that we are having countries that do not run a very robust screening program. They don't have the registries that are up to date. They don't have population-based registries. Even if we talk our own country, we have 35,000 hospitals across the country. And we have very limited number of the registries or the hospitals that are, kind of giving this information to the ICMR. So when we're talking about 2 crore, we can have figures which are double or triple of that, the actual numbers. So whatever figures we discuss will be underestimation of the actual numbers, and you need to realize the burden. The deaths, 70% of the deaths are basically in the low and mid-income group countries. So which is very alarming because we belong to that category. And why we'll come to that. Around 8 lakh new cases are detected in our country every year, and around 7 to 8 lakh are succumbing to that every year. So again, underestimation of the numbers. Now, why, the last line is very important in this slide. You need to realize 30 to 50% of the cancers have preventable causes, and that's why we're here today, right? This is the global burden currently. The survivors, 5-year survivors, 50.55 million, and again, an underestimation of the numbers. And the basic point that we need to realize is cancers are curable and cancers are conquerable, because there is no fun of discussing any problem unless you have a solution for that. A very common, pertinent question that people ask is usually, what is a tumor and what is a cancer? So any abnormal growth in the tissue would be called a tumor. Any abnormal growth. It may or may not be cancer. So if it doesn't have, by inherent nature, it cannot go into any other place, cannot invade or infiltrate, it is a benign tumor. It will not be categorized as a cancer. Any cell or any such change that can go into the tissues or infiltrate or go to the other parts of the body, that disease will be called cancer. Now, what causes cancer? Very pertinent, because when you come to know about cancers, the first thing you need to know or want to know is what can cause cancer. Cancers are multifactorial. There are a lot of myths around, a lot of videos that circulate, deficiency of this thing or increase of this thing. So deficiency of some fancy vitamins also was once a video that was being circulated. Please try and understand, cancers are multifactorial. It's not just one factor. You may or may not get cancer being subjected or exposed to the same material or chemical, depending upon what is the genetic makeup of your body. So what exactly causes cancer is something that can cause a genetic mutation in your body or in your cell. And any factor that can cause it would be called a mutant. So when we have many changes in the gene, that can cause cancer. A very simple way of making it very simple for you guys to understand is, for example, if we have one person creating ruckus in the campus, he's manageable or she is manageable. 2 people doing it becomes difficult. 3 people or the mob gathering, then it will become very difficult for the university to handle. So similarly, it becomes very difficult for the body to handle whenever there are multiple mutations in the gene. And this cancer is caused by the effect of these factors and the interplay of your own genetic makeup in the body. So it is basically the interplay between the two. Right? You must have heard people saying, right? A very common thing. People say that chap has been smoking for years together. Why didn't he die? Why would I die? Because we don't know our genetic makeup. So you have a person who's 30 kgs, you have a person who's 80 kgs, deliver the same punch to both. Both survive. The one who's 30 kgs will probably get knocked out. Right? Why? Because that is the strength of the body. So similarly, you don't know, we don't do 152 gene panel testing on the whole community or whole population to make you understand that this is your risk. So what you can do at your level is, please avoid what is causing, or what is the potential cause, or what is the potential carcinogen. Now the 3 categories broadly are physical, chemical and biological carcinogens. Physical carcinogens are, majority of them, they are just radiations. It can be UV radiation, can be gamma radiation, it can be the radons in your soil, in your water, it can be the X-rays. Now a lot of people do ask the question whether our mobile towers do have that radiation. They are not ionizing radiations, but please try and understand that recently we have had a 400% increase in the brain cancer in teenagers because of the use of mobiles. Please understand this, all right? So we might not ever come out with a randomized controlled trial or level 1 evidence in that, but there is a lot of data that says that whenever you are using any kind of radio frequency wave, which is your mobile basically, or laptop or tabs, they do create an electromagnetic atmosphere around you, right? So those mobiles are basically supposed to be 15 centimeters away from your body. Laptop is a misnomer. It's not supposed to be on your lap. And this is the amount of the radiation you're exposed to. And with the 5G and all coming in, things are going to be even worse. So now, the chemical carcinogens, tar, coal tar, you must have seen people, laying those roads and all. So that is one of the exposures. The asbestos, cadmium, soot, aniline dye. So people working in the chemical industry, in the paint industry, in the automobile industry, they are exposed to carcinogens on and off based on their occupation. And it's very, very important and pertinent for their employers also to understand that, to provide them a good and safe environment and safety checks regularly. So many people out there do not know that viruses, bacteria and parasites can cause cancers. And so we have very common cancers is stomach cancer in our valley. And it can be caused just by H. pylori bacteria, which many people are infected with. West has taken control of that. They have eradicated that bacteria. We still are struggling with it. Highest numbers in stomach are just because of that. Schistosomiasis can cause bladder cancers. We are having human papilloma virus, which can cause penile cancers, oral cancers, cervical cancers in women. But we have done a lot in terms of the screening and control in the human papilloma virus, because we have had robust screening programs for cervical cancer. And we are having vaccines also for that. There is a lot of experimentation going on around for the vaccines prevention for the breast cancer, but that is still in the experimental level. Now we are having another virus which is called hepatitis virus. Many people you must have come across or know must be having or may be having hepatitis B, hepatitis C virus. That in those patients in the long run, in 15 to 20 years of their life, they will eventually develop liver cancer. So again, a preventable cause. So this is very important to understand, because these are causes that we can take care of. Now look at this chart very carefully. 30% of the cancers only because of, be loud please, I want the audience to be awake. Smoking, perfect. Preventable? Very much, right? Obesity. So it increases the risk of having cancers, and obese women have 50% more risk of having breast cancers in the postmenopausal state. And similarly, the men who are obese will have 40% increased risk of having colorectal cancers just because they are obese. Nobody understands that obesity is a disease and it can lead to cancers, right? So very important to understand, especially with the kind of society we have, right? Voracious non-veg eaters. And then, you want your kids and your family members to be plump. I don't know why. 18 to 20% because of the infections. We discussed all the infections, quite preventable, right? Now, if you look at this figure, 13 cancers only because of being obese or overweight. Look at that. So it's a huge interplay of your hormones, the chemicals, your body, the metabolic stuff going on around. And only obesity can give rise to these many cancers. Tobacco. It can affect any part of the body. You can get almost all the cancers in the body just because of this. Till recently, I was very happy, probably presuming that a lot of our population at least is saved from this menace. And I recently got the shock of my life knowing that a huge majority, if not majority, a huge number of the people from our place are also consuming. And we are succumbing to this menace as well. Look at that. So how many of you would want to ingest nail polish remover, a paint, a toilet cleaner? No, right? And how many are actually smoking? I'm not just talking to people who are present here physically, people who are listening to me out there. A lot majority. If you don't want to ingest this, why do you smoke? This is what you're getting every day. And why is it important to understand? As we discussed, 30% of the cancers only because of smoking. Now look at this slide. The Western world has brought the number down to 3 to 4%. And we are still struggling with 33% of the cancers just because of the infections that are so very preventable because of lack of awareness. Social and psychological impact. Many people don't understand. So there is a huge amount of the stress going on around. If you don't think anything in particular, just what to wear and what to eat, still your brain is having close to 40,000 thoughts a day. That's a huge energy which can light up 11-watt bulb. So if you talk about the top-notch people who have had really successful life, the first thing they say is that when we open our wardrobe, if we have 50 clothes, they're all the same. At least we are reducing that one thought of what to wear, right? It's very, very important for you to understand that subconsciously you don't even know how many thoughts per day you're having and how much of stress that is to your brain, to your emotion, to your body. So the least you can do is do some breathing exercises. We do that. See, 5 times a day namaz was basically to disengage us from the worldly thoughts and stresses. If it's not, our Lord doesn't get anything if we pray 5 times a day, right? It's for our own purposes. It was to say Allahu Akbar and get disengaged. That's what we're not able to do. The moment we do Allahu Akbar, everything that has happened to us in the day comes back to us, right? And haunts us. So at least if you're not able to disengage your brain at that point of time, try and disengage with the breathing exercises, thinking only about the breathing, right? So when you're doing that, you're trying to minimize the amount of stress on your brain. So this is how important it is. Otherwise, we'll end up in this situation. Sleep, very, very important. Many of us don't get sleep, and what do? Keep on scrolling, Instagramming, WhatsApping, LinkedIn, Facebook, till we actually get zonked out, we get knocked out, and we think that we are now sleepy. You're not actually sleepy. You're not giving a good, sound sleep to your body. You have exhausted, you've drained your body. If you intend to sleep and have a sound sleep and you want your body basically to repair, you need to go into stage 3 and stage 4 of the sleep. That is when your body repairs yourself. Whatever damage you have given or done to the body through the day, it gets repaired only in that stage. And you shouldn't be having anything beeping around. You should not be exposed to the blue light before that. For 2 hours before your intended time of sleep, please stop going to your television screens, your laptops, or your telephones. It's very important. And when we don't get sleep, we do the otherwise. I want you to have a look on this chart. Many people unnecessarily go for their own kind of keto diets, crash diets, stopping this, stopping that. God has given us all kinds of teeth and has given us brain to understand that we are omnivore. We have to eat everything, right? We are omnivores. Don't stop anything unnecessarily and without having a prior knowledge of that. People stop altogether having cholesterol. They don't understand that they have to have it for hormones in the body, for the functioning of the fat-soluble vitamins as well. So moderation is the key. You have to have everything. You have to have a portion of cereals, a portion of rice, a portion of wheat, a portion of corns. If you talk about the tomatoes and potatoes in your diet, the peels are having anti-cancer properties. So you can wash them thoroughly and eat them. Now, many people have an issue with the lot of pesticides and chemicals being there on your veggies, on your fruits and all. And a lot of wax also recently, you must have observed that they use it for increasing the shelf life of the fruits. Many people ask what to do about it. Simple thing, get your vegetables or your food, fruits, whatever you want to eat raw, consume raw, put it in the lukewarm water, add some vinegar or salt. Keep it for 20 minutes. It will take care of majority of the chemicals that are there. Pick them up and eat. Okay? So you need to have everything in a balanced portion. Don't stop eating on your own. Your body needs a portion of everything. Moderation is the key. So these are the diets that have been shown to be having some amount of anti-inflammatory, immune boosting and antioxidant properties and anti-cancer properties. An egg a day does keep the doctor away. Its choline does help you out. Then you're having apples, pears, curcumin, turnips, broccoli. So it's a huge list out there. You can go through the list even on the websites. Plastic water bottles, a very common phenomenon. Children keep carrying it, automobile drivers keep carrying it, we all keep on carrying it, or we keep stuff in our plastic bottles and containers in the freezers, as well as they are lying in our cars, get heated up and we consume the same water. Any plastic container or bottle subjected to extreme of temperature will release a lot of carcinogens, and dioxin is very common carcinogen and one of the very common factors for causing breast cancer. Do not subject any of your plastic containers to extremes of temperature, be it heat, be it freezing. Please understand that. So this is what we want. We have to have bigger platforms. We have to have bigger institutions, organizations, especially the teaching ones. Corporate hospitals, as a part of their corporate social responsibility, are also doing a lot. But as teaching institutions, as these bigger, huge platforms, this is the best platform to actually spread the word. Then we need our religious people, our religious scholars to come out and use that platform for educating people, for creating awareness, because they have a huge impact on the way people think. A very huge impact. And as you know, sitting on that seat, it is their moral responsibility to understand what their population is facing and to spread a word. Even whatever gatherings, religious gatherings it might be, you can just put a word about this disease, urge them to go for screenings. There are so many hospitals around. There's the government hospitals, both of them are overburdened. They're doing so much for the cancers, but this is only what they can do with the infrastructure that they're also having. So we all need to contribute. The private sector also has to get in. There has to be collaboration around. There have to be awarenesses and screening camps in the peripheries, in the organizations, in institutions. That is the only way out. It's a huge burden. Not a single institute or a single organization is in a position to handle it otherwise. So the digital media, we have to have informational videos, we have to have informational talks, we have to have informational articles in the magazines, in the papers, whatever is having a good readership. And we need to understand that the human spirit is beyond anything that we face actually in our life. And we have seen patients, we have seen ladies coming, having BRCA positivity and having BRCA genes with ovarian cancer, followed by breast cancer, followed by ovarian cancer, nobody to take care of them, coming alone, getting their chemos, getting their treatments alone, reading their books and novels in the chemotherapy units, and surviving for years together. It is only, how much of strength you have inherently and how strong your willpower is. You need to understand that you can't get killed before the actual death. Anything that doesn't kill us makes us stronger only. And we have to take a pledge that if you're mentally strong, we can face anything and everything in this world. Doesn't mean that we have to have the disease and then fight it. We need to also be strong enough to be on a lookout, to be aware of the subtle signs and symptoms. And God forbid, if we are struck with any such thing, then we have to go ahead and do the treatments. There's a lot of cloud around, various treatments. There's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, that is being created in the public. I'm surprised to, understand how people misunderstand. Very surprised to know how people misunderstand certain things. I asked somebody yesterday to do an endoscopy because the patient had hematemesis, bleeding in the vomiting. She went back and then the next day she said, I'm not going to do it. I said, why? She said, my neighbor told me that if you do endoscopy, your liver will get into pieces. And I entered my medical college in 1997. So in 23 years of my life, I have never had a direct connection between the stomach and liver in a way that my endoscope can go, or somebody's endoscope can go into the liver and cause damage to the liver. This is the amount of ignorance we're having. And it's only by spreading the word, going to those segments or sections of the society probably, that we'll be able to clear some cloud around it. And unless we do that, nobody is going to come for proper treatments or go even to any hospital for any kind of treatment or be aware of the fact. So what we need is walking in faith and not in despair, and having hope and keeping that hope alive. Thank you very much.